Hey, everybody, and welcome back. We are back with another Extra Time U.S. Men's Soccer podcast. I know it's been a while. If you forgot who we were, my name's Tim. This is my brother Ryan. We're back with another episode here. It's been probably about a month. It's been a busy month. But also in that, not a lot of men's national team news from a men's standpoint. We have a couple of injuries and stuff we'll talk about with the roster, but lots of things happening overseas. We had addressed that we're not really going to spend, a ton of time on those. So nothing crazy major outside of probably frustrating articles. Ryan and I were just in the middle of talking about some pretty clickbait heavy articles for the men's team.
But you need it, otherwise people aren't even going to look at it. So I get some of them, but it's just frustrating sometimes when you see the same one, like U.S. struggling for position, U.S. fighting to make the playoffs, U.S. fighting to make World Cup, and it's like, bro, we're in second place.
Right. Yeah, and I think I'm not saying that I can't see where they're coming from. I turn my mic down a little bit; it's a little hot. I can see where these articles are coming from, right? Like you said, you want to make sure people are reading it. You want to get people hyped. But the reality is, if you're in that first place spot, it's up to other people to take it from you, right? So it's not up to the United States to earn it, because we could get, you could run the math on all the games and everything. We sure, there's a scenario where we line up against Costa Rica and we're a win or go home scenario. There's also a chance where we show up to Costa Rica and it doesn't matter what happens because the other team screwed it up so much that we're just cruising on in.
Honestly, even worst case scenario, we could end up going into that last game, and even if we lose, we're 5 points up on Costa Rica for that fourth, or we're 4 points up on Panama for that fourth place spot, right? 5 up Costa Rica. Even finishing fourth, we're probably through, right? The way the men have played, I really can't see them losing the tiebreaker to Oceania.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
I think about those things too. Like, what are the chances that we just get absolutely smoked?
In reality, we probably just need to finish top 4. Would it be nice to finish top 3 and not have to worry about that playoff? Of course. It'd be great to just sit back and be like, holy crap, the men qualified. We can just wait till the World Cup starts and watch them play. But I really can't imagine them losing the tiebreaker to the 4th place Oceania team.
Yeah,
that tries to come out of there.
I don't see us losing that either. Man, trying to adjust these mic levels is getting kind of rough. Sorry, everybody.
Well, so then I can, while you're doing it, I can. So obviously, biggest headline for the month that Weston McKennie fractures his foot playing for Juventus.
Yep. Oh, and if you haven't seen that video, like it's not like a gruesome one. It's hard to see what happens in the video, right? So you don't have to worry about. You just watch it seemed like a pretty routine tackle. It just kind of caught him the wrong way. We got a couple broken metatarsals. And he's gonna be out. What is it? 8 to 12 weeks, and we're probably only 4 weeks into that, right?
Yeah. So best case scenario, if needed, he'll most likely be able to play our playoff game if we finish in 4th.
Right, but he's out. We no longer banking on Weston McKennie for this window.
Yes, because the playoff game, I believe, is in June.
Yeah.
So that's good news. Now, bad news is we don't have him for the 3 probably more crucial games, right? He's very strong in the midfield and can stand up for players, which would be huge against Mexico. Mm-hmm. We don't have him for this.
Right.
We're coming off a loss to Panama. Granted, it was in Panama. We're still coming off a loss. He'd be huge there. Costa Rica, they're a strong team. He can help. So, like, that big body missing in the midfield is going to hurt us. But you go to the positive news of this side, Tyler Adams is back. Giovanni Reyna is back.
Yep.
Zach Stefan is back.
Yeah, these are huge pickups. Pickups.
Yeah, go ahead.
No. Yeah, you finish your statement.
So instead of the usual 1 step forward, 2 steps back for the U.S., where we get a player back and then 2 guys get hurt, like we got Pulisic back, and then that game Pulisic and Adams get hurt, right? We get Adams back for a couple games, and then some guys are out. So now instead of that, we've got, Weston McKennie is out, but we get 3 other great players coming back in the lineup, and a lot of other players that have been playing while these guys are out are really starting to show, hey, I should start. I should be playing. I'm like De La Torre, who played that last game against Honduras. I don't care that the game was like ice cold.
He needs to start. And
it doesn't matter. He's unbelievable in the midfield.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about this, about not having somebody in that space, right? So, like, sure, Weston McKennie goes down. We're missing a midfielder, but Weston McKennie goes down in, like, after the game where we just had a midfielder step up big, right? Now, if Adams is still hurt and we don't have De La Torre, I think we're scrambling in our midfield, right? But
correct. You might see a Buzio.
Right, you might see a Buzio. I'm hoping that Buzio's in that next spot, right? You know, I know you were touching base on some MLS stuff before we got started in this, and like, yes, Leget's playing better, Areola stepping into his pace, MLS is coming back. Like, we have some of those guys. I don't think we want to be that deep on our bench, given that, you know, I know it's basketball for this term, but we got some March Madness in soccer too, right? Like, this is it in this last qualifying window, and it's going to get crazy. And it's not just for us. These are 3 of the hardest teams that we're going to play against. And these are also 3 of the hardest teams that I believe Canada's going to play against, right? Canada has a pretty tough.
Well, I think they have Honduras in there.
They have Costa Rica, Panama, and Jamaica, right? So
and Jamaica.
Not like the hardest, right? Like, we have Mexico who's up in there. But then we're looking at Panama and Costa Rica. So Panama and Costa Rica playing a bunch of the top teams, which makes it really difficult for them to get the points they need to bump up into that gap.
Yeah, right? You basically have the top 5 teams all playing each other in these last 3 games. I would have to say
Mexico actually has the easiest way out, right? Sure, they're playing us, but they're playing us in the Azteca at home, right? Our record there recently is good. It's historically overall not good. And we're going to touch base on some more Mexico stuff in a second. Then they're going to go on to play Honduras, which let's just check the 3 points there, and then El Salvador, right? I mean, I'm checking. I think they're getting at least 7 points out of this final cycle, right? And if Mexico walks away with 7 points, I mean, let's say they only get 6, though. If Mexico only gets 6, they're getting 27 points.
And I do think that you're probably right that they get 7 points, maybe 6. Maybe they lose to us. Who knows? But there's always that chance. Like, they barely beat Jamaica with Jamaica having a red card, right?
Oh, sure. And I think, like, Honduras and El Salvador get enough chances.
The last El Salvador Mexico game saw 2 red cards, 1 for each team. Right? So there's obviously bad blood there. Now, granted, Mexico gets that game at home. They're not in El Salvador, so it is in the Azteca, which is nice for them.
Mm-hmm.
But you never know. Like, it could be a roller coaster. We could see Mexico not even make it. We could see Canada, U.S., Panama be the guaranteed 3. Costa Rica the playoff. We could see Costa Rica one of the guaranteed 3. Mexico fighting for a playoff. The U.S. fighting for a playoff.
Have you so staying on this Mexico topic, right? And you mentioning the bad blood. Did you get a chance to see the brawl that happened and the riot in the Mexican Soccer League?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so, like not actually Mexico themselves, but just their league. Yes, I did. Their league.
And obviously after this, right, a lot of things started coming to the surface. The United States Soccer Federation knows statistically and historically what it has been like, right? You and I have talked about it on this podcast multiple times in the episodes. Playing in the Azteca was already going to be tough. I'm not saying or making this belief that this random league game is going to carry over into this. But it does add another piece of evidence to what you had brought up, which is there's a lot of red cards in all of Mexico's games. And does it become a CONCACAF issue, or like you and I sort of hypothetically drew up, we really had a theory, is this really a Mexico issue? And I'm curious to get your take on it after seeing this brawl. Before the brawl, I think we'd beat a dead horse.
So the problem is most of the red cards aren't Mexico. So you go back and look at their World Cup qualifying game. Game against Jamaica, Jamaica gets 1. Game against us, we get 1. Game against Honduras, Honduras gets 1. Game against El Salvador, they each get 1. Right? Like it's not Mexico getting the red cards. It's the other teams getting the red cards in games
Okay.
against
So it's
Mexico.
really just like an unfounded claim, right? So it's pretty obvious that
But-
like while Mexico might have some involvement, it's not Mexico themselves that are walking away with the consequences.
Right, like and literally right before we started this podcast, I was watching the Man United Atletico Madrid game, and the first thing I see is Hector Herrera making a nasty slide tackle and immediately getting a yellow card.
Shocker.
Right? Which sets up a freak, but and he's a player for Mexico that gets under players' skins, and he's kind of dirty, and he gets away with some stuff. Is that a reason there's red cards? Because guys don't like that? Because think about it. If Hector Herrera starts targeting Christian Pulisic, right? Throws some nasty tackles, gets a yellow card, throws a couple more nasty and kind of gets let off the hook, right? And doesn't get that red card. If you're Weston McKennie, granted, I know he's not going to be playing.
Right, which is where after this, that's where I want to go.
But so if you're Weston McKennie, what goes through your head there, right? You stand up for the guys. You're always right there when a scrum breaks out. He was right there in the middle of the one when Hector Herrera grabbed Aronson by the face and tried to pull him off the turf, right? So if you're Weston McKennie and something like that happens, do you go after guys? Do you try to? And is that the reason guys get red cards? Like, does the U.S. have better composure than teams like Jamaica, Honduras, El Salvador? Like, are our guys more like, yeah, we get it, it's a game. If we retaliate, we're going to get in trouble. Where teams like Jamaica have another hothead who's like, well, if you're going to do that, I'm going to do it. And then the next thing you know, he's thrown out of the game.
I think that's a good point. And you said a word in there. I just eluded me. I just listened to it, just lost it. But you touched on a really specific point, which is this question you beg about the United States, right? Is there something different about our squad that is
composure and
composure? You did say composure, okay?
Yeah,
that is preventing us from getting there. Because let's look at the first scenario. We have Weston McKennie. Weston McKennie is the backbone to scrums for the United States, and he
didn't get the red card in the Mexico game.
He is because he does it in a manner that sticks up for his team, but doesn't result in consequences. He's not walking away with anything. Now, we look at previous U.S. squads. We didn't have that guy, right? We just had a bunch of dudes get in, try to strut their stuff, flex, get in guys' faces, bump up to them, and we're walking away with yellow cards. We're the guys committing these heinous fouls. So without Weston McKennie, before we talk about what not having McKinney is going to cause, when you look at the rest of this team, do you see any guys on this squad that run the risk of getting involved in something like that and having Mexico get under their skin and having it be effective?
A couple guys. I think just because he's been struggling, Jesus Ferreira, they could get under his skin, and he's young. He's been struggling to score goals, and he might think it's a way to cement his position if he stands up for guys. And I think he could do something that could get him in trouble. I think Sebastian Lletget in the midfield.
Fair.
Same with Areola. And I think there's even a possibility that you might see Adams do something that could get him in trouble.
That was the one player that came to mind for me, because we saw Adams in scrums before, but with McKennie there, his body language, he was sort of like the lieutenant, right? You have Weston McKennie's coming in, he's like the brigadier general, he's leading the way, and then he's got like his lieutenants and his other commanders.
Yes,
and
I think
I'm going to back you up. I'm not going to be the head guy, and now we don't have that guy.
Yeah, but I think if Adams just follows the playbook of he was there so often with McKennie being the front line, if he goes, I'll just do what McKennie does, I think we'll be fine, right? Because if he steps in and he says, I'm going to take over for this, and a guy's like getting hot-headed and push it, and Adams comes in and goes, whoa, I got this, right? And he gets in the way and does what McKennie has been so good at doing, I think we're fine. But there's always the problem of now he's in charge, or so like in charge as you can be when that stuff's going on, and he does something, right? There's a possibility. I think he's very less likely, but I think Areola, Lletget, Ferreira, Ricardo Pepe could get himself into trouble.
Yeah.
Even Miles Robinson, because he's been close before. He's the one that I believe got the red card, right? Mm-hmm. Right, so he's been there before in Mexico.
Double yellows, yeah.
Correct, double yellows, and one of them was boneheaded early, and then the second one was a retaliation penalty.
Correct.
So you could see him getting it. But honestly, I think most of the guys will be okay. Like, obviously, Pulisic will be fine, right? He plays overseas, plays for Chelsea. This stuff happens all the time. It's not going to affect him.
Right.
Serginho Dest, not going to bother him. Happens all the time. Walker Zimmerman is way too composed in the back for anything like that to bother him.
Right. I could see Miles Robinson falling victim to it.
Right.
I could see Anthony Robinson. He's been a guy he does, not all the time, but when guys specifically go after him. So this is what I'll say about Robinson. When his teammates are targeted, he's pretty good. Right?
Correct.
He doesn't do anything, even if it was the guy he's marking. He doesn't really retaliate. It's when guys come after him.
Yes.
So if the strikers from Mexico are poking and prodding at him and digging at him and kicking at him, I could see him just like, let's say he gets dragged down, standing up, jumping up in the guy's face and just like pushing him, or and like getting something from there. I think throughout the rest of the midfield, I don't see Tim Weah responding in that manner. He might chirp at him, but I don't see Tim Weah. Oh, I know, pups, but we're not interested right now. We don't need puppies.
And to get into what you're saying about like the guys kicking and chirping him, but so this is not off topic, but kind of. It shouldn't get there.
It shouldn't, and that's why we're going to go to this new on the spot made up segment of our portion called Heads or Tails. And I just thought of this right now. And we're going to go to this. And the reason I'm going to call this Heads or Tails is because
whatever a disaster of refereeing is the symbol of the coin I pick.
Okay. So here's the reason I'm saying this. In most scenarios, you would ask somebody a question, do you believe the United States is going to be more like this or more like this, right? And you'd back it up with an argument. The reason I think this segment is Heads or Tails is because I think both of the options are plausible options. And I'm not going to make you pick heads or tails. So when I think about like the United States game, here's like an example I'm getting at. I could see the United States going into this game, playing composed, not letting Mexico get under their skin, putting the ball in the net early in the first half, locking it in, and coming away 1-0. Ping! I could also see Mexico getting completely under our skin almost immediately and having the United States lose this game 2 or 3-0 because guys just, you know what I mean? Like, and the fans get to us and the refereeing gets to us. You know what I'm saying? So like that's kind of like, I'm not saying we have to do a heads or tails segment, but that's sort of what that's what I'm thinking of. Hold on. I'm going to mute this.
Is your house burning down? Okay. So my heads or tails. You can keep your mic muted. You can just chime in when you need to. So wait, that's not muted. I can hear it. That's the opposite of muted. If I can still hear it.
You can hear it, but the stream can't.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Weird, just technical. I can still hear it. So my heads or tails would be heads, US completely composed, like you said, absolutely comes out, ready to play, stick to our game plan, we play hard, we win the game. Even if we don't score early, we get a goal or get a goal or two, maybe we concede one, but we end up beating Mexico, maintaining our composure. I think there is the tails portion of the coin is basically what you said, but I want to add a third, like heads, tails, or oh crap, the coin landed.
You think there's a chance that it's not one or the other? Okay.
Yeah, there's this small chance where, oh my God, they flipped the coin and it landed on the field standing straight up. It's not heads or tails. And that's, the referees do a good enough job that the U.S. doesn't have to stand up for themselves so that Mexico can't get under their skin.
Sure.
Right?
So, yeah.
So there's a chance there. There's a chance there, but I'm not banking on it.
Okay, so I guess what we should have done then is I should have said heads or tails. And then it would be like a call it in the air. So basically you were picking one. So like if I was going to flip a coin and heads was this, I'll start with something easy. This game is going to be totally composed and nothing will get out of hand. And this game is going to be wild and there's going to be garbage thrown on the field and there's craziness. Heads or tails?
You got to pick tails.
You'd pick tails.
And,
right.
and not because I think it's going to happen, but because it has been shown to happen.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen because it's the U.S. versus Mexico. and because there's the bad blood and the rivalry. I'm saying because games in Mexico, garbage gets thrown on the field. Right. Like, it doesn't matter who they're playing against. Garbage gets thrown on the field.
Right.
Like the 0-0 draw against Costa Rica that the Mexican players had, there was garbage thrown on the field. Like, it didn't matter who they play. So that one, I think you just have to go with garbage and lack of like guys getting
right, because it's kind of like and that's how I feel about some of these games. It's really like a call in the air. Like, both options are plausible. I'm still gonna, like, my personal opinion is to lean more towards one or the other, right? So now, like, do you have one that comes to mind?
Well, here's on that topic of the craziness with the fans. I read an article. This one, I wish I had found it to send it to you. That if you remember way back, not way back, but the game where the Mexican got in trouble for throwing stuff at players. Mm-hmm. It was a U.S.-Mexico game. I think it was in the Gold Cup.
I think so, yeah.
Or the Confederations Cup, one of the two.
Where it hit them, right? Where it hit a couple of the players. You and I watched it together, and then the last time they threw garbage, they actually hit their own player.
Correct. Yeah. So now, this article says that FIFA is allowed to step in and ban Mexican fans from attending the game if they deem it would be a hazard to player safety if they are there. So they can go above CONCACAF and basically say you can't have fans.
Interesting.
Because of this incident.
And if people aren't, if you keep going, I was going to say, if people aren't familiar with this, I'm going to find U.S. Soccer's statement because they released it.
Now, do I think they will? Do I think they will? No. Right?
No, I don't think they will either.
Do I think they should? Do I think they should? It's still kind of a no. Right? Because it's not all the fans. And it's okay, yeah, well, if you can't just ban the ones that throw the garbage, right? Because then other ones will come in and throw the garbage. I get that. Mm-hmm. But it's that touchy, fans should be allowed to be at the game. I think there just needs to be heavier consequences for the fans that throw garbage.
Yeah. So if you didn't hear the statement came out on March 10th, and the United States Soccer Federation announced this as a statement ahead of their game in Mexico, or against Mexico in Mexico City. You got to calm down, Augie. It's still not time for the Aussie corner. Okay? Not time yet. It says, as we prepare for our upcoming qualifier against Mexico at Estadio Azteca, we want to pause to express our thoughts over the unbearable and horrific tragedy that occurred at a league match in Querétaro this weekend. U.S. Soccer has spoken to Mexican Federal Football Federation officials who have assured us that U.S. and Mexico fans, teams, and players alike will safely experience one of the world's biggest national team rivalries in sports, which, pausing right there, I agree, and I actually think that's sweet. I do enjoy our rivalry against Mexico.
And I do think it's one of the biggest in... If you looked at all of the men's soccer teams in the world, there might not be a bigger one, except maybe Brazil, Argentina.
Right, and I know that it comes through a pretty strict lens, right? Like, we're the United States, so obviously we really feel our rivalries. I know that there are some other, like, I'm sure Europe's got a couple, right? Like some of those European teams that are close. But
when you think about the Europe teams that are close, right? Okay, so yeah, Portugal and Spain probably has one, but statistically, Spain's been much better. Mm-hmm. The Mexico-U.S., Mexico has statistically been better, but we've been pretty close skill level for the longest time, where you have those teams in Europe where it's like, okay, like Germany and Austria, right? Like, it's never been close. There's not really a rivalry. Or like England and Ireland or England and Scotland. There's not really a rivalry there. Like, there is, but it's not two teams that are pretty similarly matched.
And they match a border. I think and this is probably an unfortunate part of our rivalry, but I know that there's a pretty decent amount of the rivalry that's unfortunately like political, as far as like how people feel about things that we're not going to talk about on this podcast. But as far as soccer goes, I enjoy, and I agree with you that we are touching, right? Because Canada's winning the CONCACAF, and we don't have a rivalry with Canada.
They could become one, though.
Right, they could become one, but like, there's just something about watching Mexico. I mean, I remember when we beat Mexico in that Nations Cup, just sending you that text message and being like, I have never felt so good and so comfortable about winning a soccer game. Like, there was just something else to that game.
And then to beat Mexico 3 straight times.
Oh my gosh. And that's what worries me though about going into the second round. You remember Brandon saying like it's hard to beat a team 3 times. You know, like it, and so now we've beaten a team 3 times. What happens on this 4th time? You know what I mean?
So yes, it is hard to beat a team 3 times, but does it show that maybe we're just that much better? Like maybe we just match up, our play style is just, it just takes them apart, right? Because in all 3 of those games, we had very similar play styles, and all 3 times Mexico really couldn't do anything.
Right, and we dominated possession. And we just sort of struggled in that final third. So moving on to players who are doing well that you were talking about, Brendan Aronson has been playing fantastic for Leipzig overseas. He's been playing absolutely fantastic. For players people who were worried about Giovanni Reina coming off of his injury and coming back, he started for Borussia Dortmund on his first day back. So
yes, but
it's not like he was cleared from injury and then he came on late as a sub. Yes, I understand he retweaked his hamstring. Sure, there's room for speculation there, but he retweaked it. So
yes, but have you seen the newer news after his retweak?
No, fill me in.
So most recently, he came on as a sub with 30 minutes to play. He played 27 and a half minutes or something.
Gotcha.
He said he was 100% pain-free. He was playing at the best physical ability he could play at, and he does not believe he would not have a starting position on the U.S. men's team coming into this last.
Right, and I think that's something that we're going to need. Like, we're going to need players like that to step up. I'm excited to see Zach Steffen back in net because, and I actually, honestly, I'll be honest, there's like an honesty moment for me.
We'd have won the Canada game.
I never actually thought I'd see myself in a boat have switched so fast agreeing with you in this, that when we first made those comparisons, right, the Matt Turner versus Zach Steffen,
it's easier for me to see I played goalie.
Well, sure, that's fair enough. But there's been a lot more evidence in the last couple games to believe that Matt Turner really is he's continuing to struggle with the ball at his feet.
Yes.
And he wasn't struggling as much at the beginning. These last couple games, it was pretty evident, especially getting to watch one in person with you. It was nerve-wracking to have the ball played back to him. And knowing who we're going to be missing in Weston McKennie in the midfield, our central playmaker. I think the good news for that is not just having Zach Steffen be able to knock the ball around in the back. Losing McKennie is detrimental, so don't get me wrong there. But him and Christian Pulisic played in the same position all the time. So position-wise and ability-wise, we're still going to have somebody
throw
in
him
that
there.
spot. Well, even if you kept Christian Pulisic up front, you know, I think what I'd like to see is I'd like to see Aronson up there. So I'd like to see like Christian Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, and Timothy Weah all playing up front. I wouldn't be surprised if Christian Pulisic dropped into the midfield and we had Aronson on the left, Jordan Morris in the middle, or Jesus Ferreira in the middle, and then Timothy Weah.
You want to talk about a guy that struggles have continued into MLS? Jesus Ferreira. The 3 games I've got to see him play in the MLS, he has had some fantastic chances, and it's just like nothing will go his way.
Right, and that's not, like, we can't be in that position, right? Especially with MLS underway and him getting these chances, we need strikers up there that are going to put the ball in the net. And I know that means we just shoulder shrug, like all those.
I mean, he's in the right spot,
he's in the right spot, but
which shows like if he's getting chances to score, he's obviously in the right place. The problem is he's just not scoring.
Right. And
so
I know it's going to take more than a number 9, right? The way that that Berhalter wants to play, attack the ball down the wing, get the ball in the box. So step 1, we have to get the ball into the box. And I'm skipping the wing part because we're good at that. We've statistically been very good about getting the ball to the wings.
Our wingers are much faster than most of the guys in CONCACAF. Right. There's only a couple of guys that can keep up with them, and that's very evident. Even some of our not wingers like Serginho Dest, who plays defense.
Yeah.
Right. I know he plays midfield overseas, and that's fine. He plays it, but he's faster than most players. He's probably is faster than everyone in CONCACAF, except maybe the guy from Canada.
Yeah, and I think about this Mexico game. I think if we can make it to the 25-minute mark and we haven't conceded a goal, I think we're in a good spot. Because
we'll probably get a draw.
Well, I think bare minimum we'll get a draw, but we'll probably sneak out a win because we will outplay Mexico with the ball. It won't matter if Mexico scores a goal in the first 8 minutes of the game, and we have to do what we did against Canada, which is fail to break them down.
Yeah.
Now, I think Canada is better defensively than Mexico is, and we did have some chances against Canada, and it was also freezing when we played Canada. So, like, the good news is the weather's going to be a lot nicer, right? We're playing in Mexico. We're
and then even
in Florida, and then we're going to play down in Costa Rica. So, like, weather-wise, it's going to be good. The humidity is not going to be brutal yet.
You want to fly to Orlando?
I have friends that are in Orlando right now, but no, I don't think I'll be able to swing. It does sound tempting, though. It does sound tempting to get away from this for a minute. So looking at roster wise, I don't think we're hurting. This is my opinion. I think sure not having Weston McKennie is going to be rough, but
I mean we're hurting, but we've got guys that can fill in.
And we won a Gold Cup and a Nations Cup without Weston McKennie. We did one of those without Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic. So let's not, if you're listening, if you're choosing,
and you know who was part of those,
right?
Gianluca Buzio.
If
you hear that, Greg Burr also start him.
Right. If you are watching this and you've been following this podcast, just keep that in the back of your mind when you're listening to some of these other clickbait things. I'm not saying they have terrible information. Other podcasts have great stuff. But when you hear people say Christian Pulisic's not in form, he's struggling overseas, go watch Chelsea's games. He's got a point in all but one of the last set of Chelsea's games, and he continues to score in the Champions League. It's not Pulisic's fault. Oh, Weston McKennie's hurt. Tyler Adams is hurt. Sound the alarm. What are we going to do? Like, United States soccer is falling apart. No. Think back. Use your brain. Think back to the games that we played. We won a Nations Cup. We won a Gold Cup. And the same teams were part of that.
Yes.
So if we won a Gold Cup and we won a Nations Cup, there's still a line in this CONCACAF bracket for us to win CONCACAF qualifying. We can come out with 9 points. It's not unreasonable to believe the United States will come out with 9 points in the final.
Look,
we are going to have the best roster.
We've already beaten Mexico. We've already beaten Mexico. We've already beaten Costa Rica. The only team we haven't beaten is Panama. We're at home against Panama. There's a solid chance we probably blow them out of the water.
Right.
Just because think about how important that game is. That's a game that it's your only home game in the last 3. We could come out and we could score 3 goals in the first half, and that game's over.
This rivalry, I think, is going to help us, right? If our guys go down to Mexico with this mentality of let's get this win and just put the icing on the cake, let's seal the deal, right? Go in there, crush Mexico, get the 3 points, go in, beat Panama in a fairly USA-friendly stadium. I'm sure it'll be a little bit mixed, but it'll be pretty nice. And then just to be able to go, we got this. We can go play Costa Rica, and whatever happens, happens. We have the best roster that we're going to have in any of the qualifying windows.
Yes. So going to clickbaity articles, headlines. The one I was reading before was, should the U.S. just play to lose against Mexico and save their starters? How do you feel about a U.S. team going into Mexico with a B squad? Not an A squad, but like some A players, but like Pulisic doesn't play. Tyler Adams doesn't play. Right, like Serginho Dest doesn't play. Walker Zimmerman doesn't play. Maybe we play Matt Turner instead of Zach Steffen, right? How do you feel about a team that is like a Gold Cup team going into Mexico to play because of the small turnaround? There's only 3 days in between these games. Mm-hmm. And the possibility of guys getting hurt in Mexico, saying, is it worth fighting for a possible point? Now, I know you'll say, let's just fight for the 3 points, because if you get the 3, it doesn't matter. But is it worth fighting for those possible points where you could just say, hey, let's conserve our energy, win the game against Panama, which is the more important one, and then get the draw or the win in Costa Rica?
I'll look at it through 2 possibilities, right? So
heads or tails.
Well, right. Well, the first one is, do I think that this is a good decision? And then the second one is, how do I feel about it? So the first one is, do I think it's a good decision? I don't personally think it's a great decision.
But you understand it.
I could be convinced that it's also not a bad decision. Right?
Okay.
So statistically, looking at the math and looking at all this other stuff, if you wanted to put a squad together that you think could hold a draw against Mexico, I think it would be not the worst choice in the world. And the reason that I'm saying this is because how I feel about it is surprisingly not that bad. And I'm not saying how do I feel about getting that result or how I feel about that intent. How do I feel about playing a B squad? Our B squad is good. If you wanted me to line up a midfield that had our B squad in it, and you were like, okay, who are you going to play? And I was like, okay, I'm going to play Kellen Acosta, and I'm going to play Gianluca Buzio in the midfield. I'm going to play, I can't remember the kid's name, the younger, like Caden Clark out on the left, maybe, and like somebody like
you could play Della Torre in the midfield.
Sorry, yeah,
he's considered a B guy,
and you could play those three. So you could go Acosta, Della Torre, and Gianluca Buzio as your three center midfielders.
Yep,
right?
you
could have Torres probably on the A squad.
You could throw Pepe and Ferreira up front,
right? And you
get
can
them
still
playing
have
time.
Jordan Morris playing up in the front.
Correct.
You can have. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of him, but DeAndre Yedlin could play in the back.
Yep.
Walker Zimmerman's co-partner could play in the back. I can't remember the dude's name. It begins with a J.
What's
something? But he's the other defender. You'd have to. I'm blanking on his name. But he could play in the back. Oh my gosh.
Chris Richards.
Chris Richards could play back there.
Chris Richards could play in the back.
George Bello could play in the back for us.
Yep. Is Sargent a midfielder?
Josh Sargent could play up front. Josh Sargent.
Okay.
He's actually been playing pretty well for Norwich City. So like our B squad is not horrible. Especially if you did a B squad mixed with a couple A's, right? So if you did what you said, you just take like the top dogs.
Yeah, and you keep
we're not going to play because
maybe Tyler Adams plays in the midfield, right?
Or like, what do you do if like you save Christian Pulisic and Tim Weah and Tyler Adams for like the 75th minute, only if you absolutely need them. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
There's strategies that you could do, and I think given the position we're in, it's worth considering those options because
you could play. Is it Sands?
Yep. James Sands is a fantastic player.
Hoppy.
Yep, he just had a birthday turn 21. So
you can even play Roldan.
Yeah, if you had to, you could. You got Kellen, or you have Paul Arriola who could play out on the wing. He hasn't been bad against Mexico. Kellen Acosta has been great against Mexico. So all those things considered, if Greg Berhalter,
you can even play McKenzie.
If Greg does Greg stuff for this game, I'm not going to be mad about it. Like, I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not going to be shocked. I'm not going to be like, what is this roster? I'm going to be like, here goes Greg again, right? We know who he is. Because I think Mexico's the team that's in a position that they have to go for it. And if it's Mexico at home, I have a different mentality. Let's just go spank them. But knowing the history of Mexico, there is something worth saying. Is it worth us going after the best team that we have to play to potentially only walk away with a draw and have these guys exhausted? Because let's be real.
Or hurt.
Our A squad could get a draw.
They could.
As good as, because we almost, or get hurt.
You could run an A squad that Tyler Adams re-injures himself. Christian Pulisic could get hurt.
And you don't want any of those things. If you got guys getting hurt, you want them getting hurt in the unfortunate win-or-go-home Costa Rica game or something dumb.
So the reason we're talking about this is the U.S. needs a minimum of 4 points. That is it. That is all they need to guarantee themselves through.
Right. So if we get a win and 2 draws, we're golden.
And that's to guarantee ourselves through without the tiebreaker, the playoff game. We need 4 points.
Because if we draw Mexico,
based on who we play.
So if we go draw Mexico, beat Panama, draw Costa Rica, and Mexico goes draw us, win, both us and Mexico finish with 28 points.
Yes.
No, that's wrong. Mexico's going to finish with 3 more points than us.
So the big kicker is if we beat Panama instead of drawing them, which some of the stats say we're going to do, that pretty much guarantees us through. Because Panama is the team fighting for our spot. Yeah. Really. I mean, Costa Rica but is 1 point lower.
Is Costa Rica going to play? I think we talked about this already, but I don't think
Costa Rica plays Panama, right? Canada, El Salvador, and us.
Yeah.
Which is probably a loss. Could be a draw against El Salvador. Right? Last time they beat them 2-1 and El Salvador had a red card.
I'm thinking about Canada because Costa Rica has to win their games. So I think if anything, the El Salvador game for Costa Rica doesn't matter. The game for us doesn't matter. If Costa Rica doesn't beat Canada, they can't get in. So
even Panama has Panama has Canada, right? So like
Right.
that right there is if Panama, we
Canada
only
is
need
playing
4 points.
Two of their 3 games are against teams who are saying, I don't care that you're in the first place spot.
Yeah,
I have to
our
beat you.
4 points are if we lose to Mexico, draw Panama, beat Costa Rica, meaning Costa Rica can earn 7 points, or Panama can earn 7 points, right? So that being said, that requires Panama to beat the other 2 teams, meaning Panama has to beat Honduras, which probably happens because Honduras does not have a single win, and Panama has to beat Canada, who doesn't have a loss yet. So so they have to beat a team that hasn't won, and they have to beat a team that hasn't lost. Right? If Panama draws that game with Canada, it's over. They're done. Right? Like we could lose a game if
Correct.
Canada draws Panama kind of thing.
And that's why I'm saying, like, just go back to using common sense. We are the team in second place. Other teams have to beat us. We don't have to earn anything. We already did it. Canada doesn't have to earn a thing. They already did it. And there's very little difference between Canada and the United States. So if we're going to talk about Canada saying they came in and they got the job done, and those same people are going to turn around and say, the United States, what are you doing? We have also come in and got the job done. If your only loss is to the number 1 team in the bracket, let's think about the other March.
Whoa. We lost to Panama.
Nobody's looking at...
We lost to Panama. We have 2 losses.
Okay, but Panama's...
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
Like, again, Panama's a quality team. We lose to Panama on the road is fine. Especially given that, was it way back? It was like in the beginning sector before our guys come back.
Yes.
So, I know what you're saying.
And you could honestly say, if the U.S. draws all 3 games, they still probably make it based on who the other teams have to play.
And because all 3 teams that we're drawing have to try to get ahead of us.
Right, like if Panama gets 5 points, say they draw Canada, beat Honduras, draw us, and we draw, they still lose to us by 2 points.
Right.
So we're still in 3rd place. Mm-hmm. If Mexico draws, wins, right?
Right.
We still finish in 3rd, which is we're through.
Sure. So let's look at this again. I love this heads or tails analogy. It just keeps going forward. So let's look at the 2 scenarios we talked about. Berhalter playing a B squad in Mexico, and Berhalter playing an A squad in Mexico and going for the 3 points. Heads, we're going to play the B squad. Tails, we're going to go for it. Which one would you call?
I would pick heads.
I would pick heads as well.
Because the risk reward is better there. Like, so the risk reward for playing your A squad is, okay, we play our A squad, we get the 3 points, but our guys are hurt. We lose our second 2 games. There's still a chance we don't make it because we lose that game to Panama and Costa Rica, who are fighting to get to us. Mexico's not fighting to get to our position. They're tied with us.
Right, they're already there.
Right, they're already there. We're not fighting for position with them. We're fighting for position with Panama and Costa Rica.
Right.
Those are the more important games. And then the risk reward of playing a B squad is if your B squad goes in there and draws Mexico, holy crap, let's go.
Right. Well, and then here's the other reason, the other factor to this. If Mexico's last 3 games were us and Costa Rica and Panama,
it'd be way different.
There might be merit in playing your A squad because Mexico might make the same decision we're thinking of, right? Do you just scrap this game and beat the teams you know you can beat? Mexico has to play the 2 bottom teams.
Yes. So they're going to play their A team against us.
Because then they're like, we can just cruise through, right? Now, sure, there is a small percentage chance Mexico says, listen, who cares about the United States? We got 2 cakewalk games after this. Let's just play our B guys.
And they also only need 4 points.
Right. I'll still make the argument, if Mexico plays their B squad, our B squad is 100% going to beat them.
Correct.
So now that we've sort of broken it down, I know people might think it's crazy. At first, I kind of thought it was crazy. It's still not time for Aussie Corner. It's still not time. You can just go get your ball.
So
I think playing the B squad is the better decision because everything sort of merits. There's not much risk involved.
So here's my thinking. Also on the we play our B squad. The 2 teams chasing us have to play Canada, which means they have to play their A squads there. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you look at Panama and you look at their matches, they play Canada right after us.
Right. Which they're going to have to play their top guns 3 games in a row.
Which means if they play Honduras first. They don't have to play their top guns there.
Well, right, but I'm saying like the teams that are chasing us are going to have to play their top guys more than we are.
They go from Orlando playing us. So let's say they play their top squad and they get a draw against us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's huge for them. Now they have to go back home after playing their A squad and getting worn out and play Canada, who's probably only playing B squads.
Yeah,
at this point.
I think at this point, I don't see Canada really going for it.
But Canada could go, no, let's play an A squad this last game so we guarantee ourselves first place. Because Mexico is most likely going to get 7 points, meaning Canada needs at least one win and a draw to cement first place.
Right.
So Canada could go into that last game going, no, we need a draw or a win, bud. Mm-hmm. Here's our A squad.
I also could see Mexico just falling apart in these final 3 games. Mexico's been all over the place in this World Cup qualifier, right? Canada has not. I don't think we really have.
No.
We've had a couple ups and downs, but not really.
Now, granted, for Canada, let's just say, yes, okay. They beat Costa Rica 1-0. It was at home.
All right, it's Aussie corner time. It's time
so
for the Aussie corner.
Yeah, we're basically done here. So Canada beat Costa Rica 1-0. It was at home. They beat Panama 4-1. It was at home. These next games for Canada against these two teams are in Costa Rica and in Panama. If Costa Rica beats Canada the day we play Mexico, you could very well see a Canada A squad against Jamaica and Panama just so that Canada cements their first place.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm really looking forward to this last bracket. I'm 89-90% confident that the U.S. has a position in the World Cup at the end of these 3 games, based on how we've been playing and based on where we are in the standings.
All right, so last thing, and we'll make it quick as we're wrapping this thing up. I want you to tell me what are 2 things that you fear might happen. This is like an our choice, heads or tails. Looking at U.S. soccer going into these last 3 games, what are 2 things you fear might happen? And on the flip side, what are 2 things that you're excited about because you're confident they will happen?
Things I fear could happen. I fear that we go into Mexico with a B squad and lose, and then that momentum carries over into the Panama game and we lose that. Right? Because that's bad. Because then we must beat Costa Rica and we have to hope that Panama loses to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's not something we don't want to rely on another team doing our job.
Right. We want to get it to
right.
ourselves.
Like if we get the points, we guarantee ourselves in. We don't want to play a game against Costa Rica going, well, we're beating Costa Rica, but Panama's winning, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Right. Things I think that are going to happen
that you're excited about. You're looking
that I'm excited about is I'm excited that I believe the U.S. is going to win in Mexico, regardless of what team we play. I think we've proven that our gameplay is better than theirs the way we play, and Mexico cannot handle it, and they get frustrated. And I think the U.S. just needs if the B squad plays, you could see it in the Gold Cup game. Their composure when things got out of hand was much better than some of our A guys.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So I think the B guys can keep their composure. I think we can come away winning that game. Do I think more statistically? I think we draw. And a draw in Mexico, if we draw Mexico,
it's basically a win, yeah.
I think we beat Panama. I'm pretty confident we beat Panama. It's at home. We looked way better than them when we played them in Panama. Now, that being said, we didn't look good. Like, we looked real bad. But we looked better than Panama did. Panama didn't have possession. Yeah, okay, we did, but we didn't do anything with it. Doesn't matter. We looked better than them.
Correct.
So I think we, especially with the way the U.S. has been playing, I think we beat Panama, and I think we beat Costa Rica, and I think we come out with 7 points, and I think we lose to Canada overall number 1 spot by a point or 2. Right? I think Canada probably win, draw. I could see.
I could see that too.
Right? So them getting 8 points. Or 5 points. Finishing with 30, us finishing with 28.
Yep. Which would be fine.
That's probably where I have it. I think we finish ahead of Mexico. I think we finish in second place. That's if you had to tell me something I thought was going to happen, if I had to pick the outcomes right now, that's what I would pick. I would pick draw, win-win for us, draw, win-win for Mexico, win, draw for Canada. Canada 30, both U.S. and Mexico 28, and then Panama will have what? They'll have a win, a draw, and a loss, so Panama 21. finishing where we are right now. Meaning we could lose all 3 of our games in theory, but Panama is one of them. So
I'm glad we have that recorded. I think that could be very much pretty close to what we see here. If I'm thinking about the things that I have, my fear is actually not going to be that we play a squad and lose in Mexico. My fear is that mentality, Berhalter does something like that home in Orlando.
And that's why I said about it in Mexico, because I feel like it would carry over.
It would. And I think a loss in Mexico, especially if we play an A squad and we get thumped, could carry over that wise, right? And I'm trying to think of like realistic fears. Obviously, I fear guys getting hurt and I'm worried about, but all that put aside, I'm worried that the Berhalterness carries over until it's too late. And we get ourselves in a position where like we somehow manage to have to beat Costa Rica and we play like a junk squad to start that game off. Another thing that I fear is I just fear this Mexico game, having to watch what happened in that. I'm not saying there's going to be a riot in the Mexico game, but Mexico games typically get out of hand. The refereeing is junk. The fans are junk. Like it just can get out of hand, and that's one of the things I fear.
Now, and the good news about this is a CONCACAF game, not a league match. So the security is different. The officials are different. So hopefully it will be better.
Be like riot conditions. I'm still thinking things are going to get thrown, and there's going to be
half the stadium collapses, stuff like that.
None of that stuff. And then I'm going to agree with you. My first sentiment is that I'm looking forward to is I do believe we're going to win in Mexico. I think that's going to be pretty handily. And then I'm going to say something pretty bold. I'm excited because I think our striker's going to step up in this window.
Which one?
I don't know. I think we're going to have one guy who's going to finally step up, and they're going to get 4 goals. Okay? There's my prediction. I think one of our up-front guys is going to score 4 goals in this qualifying window.
In these 3 games? Okay.
And the media's going to be talking about it. If I had to pick, I'm going to say it's going to be between Brendan Aronson and Timothy Weah.
Ooh, see, I would have picked, and you're going to hate me just because I would have picked Jesus Ferreira.
Because, I would love it. I'd buy a Jesus Ferreira jersey.
And not because I think he will, but because the guy needs a break.
He does.
Because he has had so many quality scoring opportunities, and it's just like that. He's due. He's due to score goals, and it would be so huge if he gets them now going into the World Cup.
Right, and you know what? Honestly, nothing would make me happier than in like the 13th minute, a ball gets bounced in the box, and Jesus Ferreira just buries it against Mexico in the Azteca, right? Just to watch him run over to the fans and hold his jersey up and get milkshake and beer rained on him.
Be like, I chose not to play for you guys.
Right, yeah, right.
But another thing I want to see Gianluca Buzio.
Yeah, I want to see Gianluca Buzio too. I think we're going to get to see him in one of these 3 games, even if it's only as a sub. I don't
care.
That's right.
5 minutes of playtime is better than 0.
Yep. So the games are starting next Thursday, March 24th.
Yeah, 10 o'clock.
That's right, 10 o'clock is going to be rough. So next week, we're going to do a super brief podcast. I'm talking like maybe 20 minutes. We're just going to talk about news media lineup because we're going to know it. The media is going to have talked about a couple things. We're going to probably have Greg Berhalter's interview. We'll touch on that briefly.
Possibility if you want. I may be able to convince Corey to watch the game. He will be home. Might be able to get him on this.
That would be sweet. That would be enjoyable to have that.
So he is home for all 3 games. I might be able to get him to watch 1 or 2 with me.
He should. And is he going to be out here for one of them?
No, he doesn't. He leaves to go. Oh, he won't be here for the March 30th game. He'll be or the Sunday game, I guess, because he leaves the day after Snowmagang.
He'll be here. No, he's here on March 31st.
Yeah.
So they'll be traveling. They'll be in a hotel probably March 30th.
So he'll only be able to watch the first one. We might be able to get him on here on Friday.
We might be able to. But yeah, so next week we'll talk about the media. What we got Greg Berhalter talking. We'll give you guys some lineups, some predictions. We'll try to avoid
They released have they released the roster?
I think they released the March camp. They might not have. We might be awkwardly in the middle of it. It might get released like tomorrow.
Okay.
It also could have already been released. This is literally how busy this last month has been. So
here's projected roster.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll talk about those things. And then there'll be some back-to-back podcasts as we get these final 3 games before, I'm calling it, before the United States is going to qualify for this World Cup. So.
Oh, yeah. I think I'm pretty sure they're good.
Oh, yeah. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Go ahead, leave a comment. We want to hear from you guys. Like this video, share this video. If you
Heads or
haven't,
tails?
that's right. If you give us your heads or tails for the United States soccer team. If you haven't, ring that bell button, click the subscribe button. You'll get some videos posted by us. You'll get the notifications when they come out. We're just trying to grow the community. We'd love to hear from some other fans, and even post some comments of some other podcasts and videos that you've really enjoyed from other content creators. So we will see you guys next week. We appreciate you tuning in.